WhoCon 2020 and welcome back. This is Fixing That Chameleon Circuit, Cosplay Makeup 101, and I will be your host, Darlington Kilbride IV. Although we couldn't be together in the usual fashion this year due to our current circumstances, our fantastic, brilliant con runners, of course, followed the old adage that says where there's a will, there's a way. So I am delighted to be back for the second year in a row bringing this talk to you. I hope very much that by the end of this, something has become easier for you or a concept makes a little bit more sense for you, and that cosplay makeup feels slightly less like the daunting beast that I think we all think it is. Alrighty, I'll see you in a few slides. So who am I, and why on earth should you listen to me? My name is Darlington Kilbride IV. I am essentially a Jack or Jill of all trades and master of none. I like to practice as many different kinds of art as I can, but I always do find my way back to cosplay and special effects makeup. So here are some photos of my work. I am the subject in all three of these photos, as you can see. Among other things, I'm also a writer. I write poetry and prose and am a struggling, starving novelist, as is true to form. I consult on special effects makeup specifically for cosplay. I was here last year, as I said. I did a couple of live makeup demonstrations, but I also brought this panel and did a quick Q&A session as well. I'm also an alternative model. Leaning mostly towards cosplay themed modeling, but using the same skills I've learned in cosplay. And according to some of my more fantastic photo shoots, I may also be a creature of myth. If you're going to listen to anyone, I would like you to listen to me because everything that I know is self-taught. And of course, my work isn't perfect. No one's work is, but learning that this was possible, a transformation this absolute was something that I could do with my own two hands was really, really cool, and it's a feeling that I think everyone who cosplays should get to experience. So whether or not you listen to me is up to you, but if you do, I hope that it helps. This is just a quick rundown of some of my recent work. This is my most recent photo. I do cosplay burlesque occasionally, and this was for a digital performance as Poison Ivy. This was ink from Batman Beyond, the cartoon series, and this was for WonderCon a few years ago. This was anthropomorphized characters from Adventure Time, and I'm over there on the left, and I'm Lumpy Space Princess. This is a shoot with Mad Maz, who you'll see running around this convention. We were the Greek gods Styx and Ares, so we were lucky enough to get to shoot at Requiem in Anaheim, California, in front of this beautiful window. So that was a very cool experience for us. This was Labyrinth of Jareth last year. I was an anthropomorphized Oogie Boogie, and as you can see, I'm not going for sculpts most of the time. I'm not going for physically changing the shape of my face so much as I am tricking the eye into thinking that I've changed my face. And it's a matter of preference. I prefer that style. It's similar to a way that Rococo and Baroque era painters used to, and Impressionist painters as well, used to trick the eye into seeing a color that the painter might not necessarily have had. So whichever way works, it's up to you, but I'm going to be talking to you about just straight paint on skin. The biggest question that I get from anyone who's looking to get into doing special effects makeup is, where do I start? And it's a very fair question. It seems really daunting, especially when you see some of the incredible things that people are capable of. but you have to start somewhere, and the easiest place to start is your character selection. Your character selection is going to inform a lot about the way that you build this look. In terms of character selection, I mean the persona and how easily they translate to being brought into 3 dimensions, and how efficiently they translate to convention cosplay, which is a major factor if you're going to be doing any kind of body painting for a convention or for a cosplay. So you start with your character selection. And some characters may be harder to pull off exactly, so you may choose to skew the character and do a Gajinka, which is a human version of something like a Pokemon or a My Little Pony, or you may choose to do a punk version or something of that sort, but starting with that character selection is going to mean the most. So once you've selected the character, you have 2 very important decisions to come to, or 2 very important explorations to go on, I should say. Over on the left-hand side, we have identifying your color palette, and on the right-hand side, we have identifying your medium. I personally, and I will be going over different types of mediums that you can use in special effects painting. I personally am most comfortable using water-based paint. I'll go over what that means with you in just a little bit here, but whatever your medium is, I recommend, especially if you are just starting out, mixing mediums as little as possible. It's not unheard of. It's sometimes you don't have all the supplies that you need, and you can definitely, do special effects on a budget. But in terms of what you're putting on your face and the way those things breathe on your face, it's easiest to have one type of thing coating the surface of your skin, so that when you remove all of the product that's on your face, you can treat your skin equally. The color palette for me is the most important thing, I will say, because it tells me what it's going to look like in 3 dimensions, and how exactly I can translate that character from 2 dimensions into 3 dimensions. So let's go over the 2 ways that we can explore these things. The first thing, of course, is identifying your color palette, and there are 2 components to this. Firstly, you want to select 3 colors to start with. And when I say 3 colors, I mean you want to pick a base color for your face, you want to pick a slightly lighter color for your highlight, and a slightly darker color for your contour. For example, in this photo here where I'm She-Hulk, my base color is a neon green. My highlight is a lemon yellow, and then my contour is a dark foresty sort of green. And when I was able to select these colors, I was very lucky in that I found a photo in a comic that was exactly the way I wanted her to look, or the way that she looked in my head, and that was Kevin Wada and Charles Soule's run of She-Hulk. Very lucky I got to meet them, and like I said, to date, it's my favorite cosplay. But it started with picking just those 3 colors, figuring out what color she was going to start, what colors complemented her and caught the light for her highlight, and what colors complemented her and molded the shape of the face in a fashion that was both clean and seamless, but also still a little bit comic book-ish. And then the other part of that, of course, was identifying my medium. For this look, like I said, I used Clown White, which is more like a cream-based medium. It's very, very thick. It will suffocate your pores. So if you are going to use Clown White as a base, I recommend bathing your skin beforehand and taking incredibly good care of it afterward. This look was Clown White with water-based or water-activated paint layered on top, and then some liquid lipstick, and I believe it's been about 6 years, so bear with me. I believe that's also a Ben Nye bruise wheel and some blood effects. I tested and tested and tested. I never I never tell people to do multiple full runs of a body paint cosplay ahead of time because I realize that the product is expensive. But I do usually test just the face, not even really blending into the neck. I usually just do from chin to the top of my head just to get a feel for whether or not the colors work with the wig and the contact lenses and the outfit that I'll be wearing. It's another question of tricking the eye. It's another question of making certain colors look brighter and more vibrant and making other colors recede. So I recommend at least small tests, even just patch tests, to make sure that your colors are coordinated and it looks like a cohesive, thoughtful look. So just a little bit more on color. Color is your biggest asset as a makeup artist. We're going to be going over what I mean by that in just a moment, but the two main points here are that color is the backbone of any makeup look, and it is also entirely subjective. By that I mean it can be treated with the same level as respect that the doctor treats rules. When I say that, what I mean is going back to that concept of tricking the eye. You don't necessarily have to have a 64 color paint palette to get 64 colors on your face. It's a matter of playing with colors and tone and things like that to create the look that you have with the products that you have. So a little bit of color theory, and I know that I'm harping on color here, but it really is the backbone of my work, and it for me is the most important part of doing any makeup look. So primary colors, of course, are the ones represented here, blue, red, and yellow, and they're the building blocks of all other colors. They cannot be created by mixing other hues. Next up are secondary colors, which are created by the equal mixture of two primary colors. So you have orange from red and yellow, you have purple from red and blue, and you have green from blue and yellow. Of course, I know that you all know this because we have all been to kindergarten, but bear with me. And then, of course, there are tertiary colors, which is what happens when you blend secondary and primary colors together. It's also called an intermediate color. And intermediate colors are really what comes into play when you are trying to trick the eye and create colors and shapes and dimensions that you don't necessarily have readily available to you. So a couple of tips for color harmony. Like I said, I picked 3 colors, but how did I pick those 3 colors? There are 2 schools of color. There are analogous colors, which are any 3 colors that are side by side on a 12-part color wheel. And a 12-part color wheel is the one that has primary, secondary, and tertiary colors. Usually one of the 3 colors in that selection will be the dominant color. Conversely, we have complementary colors, which are any 2 colors that are directly opposite each other on a 12-part color wheel, like red and green or purple and yellow. There are very few rules about what you can and can't do with color if you're creative enough. I recommend heavily start by observing the effect colors have on each other. There's a restorer that I'm a fan of on YouTube who once said, in terms of restoring vintage and classic art, that he has to see color the way that a dog sees anything. By which I mean, if you put a chocolate cookie in front of a dog, the dog will smell the cookie as a whole, but it'll also smell the chocolate and the flour and the butter and the other ingredients that went into it. And that is really how you have to begin to see color if you're going to begin working with it, especially with water-based paint, because it is essentially doing watercolor on your body. Now, this is going to look awfully daunting, but stay with me. We're going to talk about mediums for a minute. There are many, and there is no right answer. It depends on what you are most comfortable with, what is most readily available to you. I started with water-based paint and am now branching out and as frustrated as the rest of you who are just starting out with any kind of special effects medium. So first up, we have daily wear cosmetics. Those are things like NYX or MAC, Urban Decay, Too Faced, Anastasia Beverly Hills, the sort of thing that you would see a makeup vlogger talking about. Next, you have water activated paint, which I keep singing the praises of. That would be Marin's Paradise AQ Cakes, Ben Nye's Magic Cakes, Snazaroo. There's an asterisk here. I want to stop very quickly and say that I personally do not recommend Snazaroo. It doesn't blend very well. It's very, very dry, and it doesn't layer very well. But that is an option, and it is a cheaper option. In terms of cheaper options, if you're looking for that, I would recommend going to fxcosplay.com. I'm not sponsored by them. I buy all of my paint from them. It's medium coverage, it's layerable coverage, it blends beautifully and very cleanly without getting muddy. So if you're looking for a cheaper option, they do have the option to build your own 6-color palette for $25. So you can start playing around with color without breaking the bank. Then, of course, you have grease and cream paint, which is Clown White, like I was talking about. Most Bruise and or Monster wheels, which are a collection of cream-based paints intended to create either the appearance of bruises or coloring you would see on, say, a zombie or a wolfman. You've also got Graftobian Pro paints, which are very, very, very dense coverage. It's beautiful coverage, but it is going to destroy your skin. So it is best for short-term wear, typically an event, maybe a photo shoot that's only going to last a couple of hours, things like that. I wouldn't recommend it if you're going to be in the same cosplay for a weekend, for example. Then there are airbrushes. This is sort of the Mount Everest for me. I haven't gotten to work with an airbrush yet, and I'm dying to. Some of the options that you have in terms of airbrushing are Vibe, Endura, Skin Illustrator, Graftobian, and typically these will be water-based or alcohol-based lighter coverage. Airbrushes aren't super expensive, but they are an investment in the craft. So that is something to bear in mind, but that is typically what is used in movies. So Nebula in Guardians of the Galaxy or the Queen of the Arachnos, things like that, are typically done with an airbrush. It's longer lasting wear, it's smoother, it blends better, it's the holy grail of painting. And then of course you also have alcohol-based paint. That would be from brands like Skin Illustrator, Ben Nye, Graftobian, or Real Creations. I actually personally don't know a great deal about alcohol-based paint. There is one very important thing that everyone I know who uses it would like me to tell you, and it's that if you are going to use alcohol-based paint for long wear, which is phenomenal, you can't sweat it off because it's not water-based. So it's a phenomenal choice for long wear. Do not drink any alcohol for a week beforehand, or it'll be just like you used water-based paint and you're sweating buckets. It completely destroys the efficacy of it. So this is just a quick mock-up of a toolkit. These are cosmetic brushes, standard everyday brushes. On the left-hand side, we have your larger brushes, which are for your face. That would be for things like foundation, blush, contour, setting powder, things like that. And then you have your smaller brushes over on the right, which are just for detail, particularly on the eyes, so things like shading or blending, small line work if you're interested in doing very fine work on the eye, and of course for things like concealer for a cut crease and so on and so forth. I want to preface this by saying you don't have to have special quote-unquote special effects brushes to do special effects work. I don't want to give that impression. Regular paint brushes will work in a bind as long as you take very, very good care of them. But for those of you who are looking to get serious about it, you do have options. This is one of them. It's all actually on my personal wish list, and these are for things like drawing veins and cracks and lines and stamping and stippling and they're meant to withstand heavier products. They're meant to take on more dense cosmetics. If you are looking to get serious, I would recommend investing in a very good set of brushes specifically for special effects. But like I said, not at all a requirement. Now, those three colors that we keep coming back to, I just want to explain what those three colors actually mean. The base will be your quote-unquote skin color. That would be your foundation in day-to-day life, or a clown white if you're doing something neon like that She-Hulk photo, or the character's skin color. Next is your highlight, which is the color that brings out the high point of your face. So it's always a lighter color. You apply it to your T-zone, which is just the bridge of the nose, cheekbones, your cupid's bow, your chin, and your brow bone. And then you have your contour, which is the color that either defines your bone structure or gives the illusion of a different bone structure. That's typically applied to your nose, your inner brow line, your cheeks, and your forehead. So following this formula, I chose to go with complementary colors on the color wheel. So my base, like I said, was a neon green. My highlight was a nice neon, super neon yellow. And my contour was that darker forest green. You could do it all in green, but I do recommend the three colors because it gives you dimension. For example, this was the first time that I did She-Hulk, and I'm very pleased with it, and I love this costume and all that jazz. But this was the first time that I did her, and I got painted in a moving vehicle. It's a very long story, but as you can see, the face is very flat. I have to work to get any angles in my face or any kind of definition. So when I came back to this cosplay after watching some YouTube tutorials and some sci-fi shows about special effects, I worked with my complementary three-color palette, and this was the result. As you can see, it's a completely different face. The face on the left is pretty enough, sure. I didn't do anything to deform the face. But on the right-hand side, we've got depth. We've got points of the nose of my face draws your attention right away, and then those cheekbones come in and kind of even things out, and even the bruises are carefully placed where they will pop most against the color they're up against. So while you can absolutely do one color, and that is definitely easiest for conventions, if you're looking for photo shoots or something editorial, I definitely recommend doing yourself the favor of creating what is essentially instant depth. So, for example, in the Doctor Who-niverse, let's look at Weeping Angels. I know. As long as you keep your eyes on it, everything will be fine. In the back here, we've got just one of the taller angels, and that's just so you can see the bottom of the costume. And then, of course, we have the world's most terrifying angel. The reason I bring this up is that in all three of these photos, it's of the exact same creature in different lighting and different circumstances. So you get different versions of the color, and they're all correct. Looking at this big one, the reason I like this big, scary photo is that you can very clearly see the shape of the angel's face if you're looking for that transformation aspect, but you can also see the different interplays of color in this makeup job. You can see that there's a gray or a tan or a taupe base, that there's a sort of gray wash that's been done over the whole thing, but the cracks, which are sort of like veins in this case, are a deeper brown, and then it's all very dingy, but in previous photos they looked much more gray than they did this sort of sepia tone. So it really is a matter of what lighting you're in and how you play the colors you're using against one another. And now the age-old question. Thanks for all of the information, but who do I cosplay? Well, let's take a look at some of your options that are absolutely attainable with just the things that we've talked about today. Monsters, creatures, and aliens. Oh my. This would be things like the Weeping Angels, the Autons or the Nestine Consciousness, the Clockwork Men, the Face of Bo, and of course Lady Cassandra O'Brien. Delta 17. You've got your humanoids, which are your humanoids and your Time Lords and your companions. So that would be the Doctors, Jack Harkness, Mickey Smith, the Metacrisis, Bad Wolf, if you're looking for something anthropomorphized, things like that. And then, of course, as with anything, there is a hard mode. Expert level for monsters, creatures, and aliens would be creatures like Strax, Madame Vastra, or other Silurians, the Silence, the Sycorax, the Slitheen, the Cybermen, the Rachnos, Weevils, the Ood, or the Toclafane. So basically all of the big bads that we meet on Doctor Who. And if you're looking to get really, really fancy with a humanoid Doctor Who cosplay for something like Labyrinth of Jareth or a Masquerade Ball, expert level for that would be Idris. You could do Melody Pond and River Song, Madame Kavarian, the human Lady Cassandra, and the Metacrisis Dr. Donna. Of course, there are other options. The sky's the limit. These are the ones that I could think of off the top of my head, but if you are creative enough and you really rely on your ingenuity, there is no character in the universe of Doctor Who that you can't turn yourself into. Do's and don'ts. Do learn from whatever sources you can, whether that's YouTube, whether that's going to workshops from some of the more popular makeup artists, or just trial and error, just trying it out at home until you get the look and the texture and the feel and the long wear that you're looking for. Do test your makeup look before your convention. Trust me on this, I'm really terrible about it actually. I'm typically in a con crunch until the very, very last second before I need to be on the convention floor. So I'm very bad about testing my makeup before conventions, and that has backfired on me. If you can, like I said, even if you just do your face, just so you start building that muscle memory and you start understanding the ways the color plays together, the ways that your medium blends together, and sort of where you can blur the line between those two things. Don't get discouraged if it isn't perfect the first time. Like I said, I've been doing body paint for 6 years, and there are still days where I completely finish my face and look in the mirror and immediately wash it all off because I hate it. It's a series of trial and error, and it's living art. It is art that you are performing on yourself or on someone else. So of course, no matter how ingrained in your muscle memory techniques are, every look will be different because every subject and every set of circumstances will be different. So if it doesn't look exactly like it did in the tutorial, don't be super hard on yourself. Don't give up. Wash your face really, really well, exfoliate, condition, all that good stuff, and then give it another shot. If you are looking for some further reading on the topic, included below will be the links to these videos. You have Sculpting 101, which is for those of you who are looking to create more monsters and things like the Silence or the Rachnos. And then we just have a little bit more on color theory as well and why tricking the eye is even possible. And I hate to say it, but we are all stories in and have reached the end of this presentation. In the immortal words of the Doctor, I hope that I made it a good one, and I hope that going forward you can take some of the information that I presented to you here and use it to turn yourself into all kinds of wonderful, fantastic things that, who knows, we may see on the big screen someday. Once again, I have been Darlington Kilbride IV, and I just want to thank the crew behind TwoCon again for inviting me back and for allowing me to talk to you all about my favorite subject. And I hope that you are all staying very, very safe and that Doctor Who is still a comfort zone for you. and that you enjoy yourselves at the con this year. Bye!